Hello, San Leandro. I am outside of the San Leandro Butterfly Garden, and today we're going to be chatting with representatives from Homegrown Habitats about California native plants and why they're so important.
So gardening with California native plants means you're growing the kind of plants that have lived here in California for thousands of years. And that means they have evolved with the pollinators and insects we have in California and can sustain them in ways that traditional ornamentals from elsewhere just can't. If you take our native bees, for example, we have 1,600 species of native bees, and many of them depend on our California native plants for pollen and nectar. Also, moths and butterflies, they develop from caterpillars, and those caterpillars can't just eat any old plant. They need California native plants to grow. And why is that important?
Well, you see, that is very important because caterpillars are good nutrients resources for young birds. And young birds, they need caterpillars to grow up well and well-raised and nutrients-based, which caterpillars come into consideration for their food.
Yeah, so no native plants, no caterpillars, no birds. So if you plant California native plants, you don't only have beautiful colors, interesting aromas, and nice foliage, you also bring in life to your garden and butterflies and bees and birds, and you support biodiversity.
So we've talked about caterpillars and how they're so important to the birds. Can you tell us a little bit about how native plants are super important to monarch butterflies?
Yeah, absolutely. So our monarch caterpillars actually depend on native milkweed. So right here I have an example of one of our two native milkweeds. This is showy milkweed. So while they are a caterpillar, they feed on this plant. They eventually turn into a chrysalis, and then a few weeks later they become a butterfly. So without this plant to feed on, they wouldn't be able to become butterflies, so we wouldn't actually have any monarchs.
That is just another reason why California native plants are so important for gardening. Do you think you can show us some other native plants that we could have in our garden?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can see the huge diversity of plants we have in this small garden. We've got ceanothus, which gets a beautiful indigo flower in the spring and is covered with, I've seen 5 different kinds of bees on this plant, and this, the ancilia. So we go from the indigo to the yellow, California colors. In the back, of course, the showy milkweed with their pinkish flower. On down to the California fuchsia. In the back, you see one kind of manzanita going pink. And here we got another kind of manzanita. And all of these are attractive to some butterfly, but also several other kinds of pollinators. Here, to go with the yellow, we've got the purple coyote mint. So again, we've got those great California colors. A lot of diversity, a lot of color, and a lot of pollinators attracted to them.
So we've seen a bunch of the California native plants that are planted right here in San Leandro's Butterfly Garden. How hard are these to take care of? Do they require a lot of water?
That's the great thing about a lot of native plants is that most of them are actually drought tolerant since they're well adapted to our dry summers, meaning that they have very low water usage. Additionally, most of them aren't very prone to pests, so you don't really have to worry about the maintenance for that. And so overall, they're pretty low maintenance to take care of.
And that's really convenient to have in your own garden. But what if you don't have a garden?
Oh, well, that's not a problem at all. You can honestly grow native plants perfectly fine in containers on a patio, a balcony, or even in a windowsill. In fact, at the Manor Branch Public Library, we actually have a demo garden where we're growing a bunch of native plants in containers at a pretty small space.
Maybe we should go there and see it.
Yeah, let's take a look.
So here we are at the Manor Branch Library, and we have all these native plants in containers. So if you don't have a garden, you can still garden with California natives. And we want to show you just a couple of our favorites. These are plants that like sun. One of my personal favorites is the red flower buckwheat. I have it in a large container. You do want to water it a little more than you would in the ground just because containers dry out a little faster. But the red flower buckwheat and any buckwheat is actually really hardy plants. It blooms right when all the wildflowers are fading. Really popular with the bees and other pollinators. And it's just a really pretty plant.
Yeah, so a plant I really love here at the demo garden is coffeeberry. This beautiful evergreen shrub looks nice all year round, so it's a really great plant to put in your front yard. And similarly to the buckwheat and the milkweed that we talked about earlier, it also supports a lot of our native butterflies. One of particular importance that I love a lot is the pale swallowtail, so it's able to use this plant to raise its caterpillars and become a butterfly.
So we've learned about some of the different ways about how California native plants are super important, not just to us, but also the wildlife. And Stephanie, can you tell us about Homegrown Habitat's role in maintaining this demo garden here at Manor Library, and maybe some ways that the community can get involved?
Sure. So here at the library, we partner with the library, and Homegrown Habitats actually a program of the city of San Leandro. But we're really a community of gardeners and neighbors here in San Leandro who want to bring more California native plants to our own gardens, to public gardens like the San Leandro Butterfly Garden, to schools, and we invite others to join us.
Yep, so if you want to learn more about Homegrown Habitats, maybe you're thinking about starting your own garden, want to get some educational resources, then you can go to sanleandro.org/homegrownhabitats to learn more.